What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I am joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. Nate, what's up? Welcome back. I think so.
Yes.
By the way, well, I won't say his name. Told one of the follower of Talking Halos. He asked me, where's Talking Halos been? What's going on? And I said, I'm very superstitious about stuff. That's why we're not podcasting. That's why we're not recording, doing anything right now. The Angels have been playing well. We'll talk about that. However, the first day that we get back on, I text you this morning on this fantastic Monday morning. I text you. I say, hey, we should record. We should kind of get going back into it. Not much more than an hour later, we get news about Anthony Rendon going on the IL. So I blame you for that, not me. You.
Of course. Of course.
Negative Nate there. But yeah, how's it going? Did I already ask you how's it going? How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. What, can we wrap him in bubble wrap? I don't know. It's just
To be fair, like I know we can make all the jokes in the world about him being injury prone. Fluke injury here, to be honest. Like guy can get hit in the hand and be perfectly fine. He gets hit in the
they
hand,
all are
and
fluke injuries with him though. So
I know. Like, and I didn't want to use that excuse, but like, dude gets hit in the hand. He plays through the rest of the game, swells up. It's like, right when he comes back and seems to be healthy. However, good news. This doesn't seem like it's going to be that long of an injury. They didn't put him on the IL right away. I think they thought it was going to be quicker than it was going to be, but I think this is just kind of precautionary to get somebody up because I don't think he's going to play through the Dodgers series. Obviously, he's not because he's on the IL now, but I don't think he was going to play through the Dodgers series. Just waiting to see, how the swelling went, and I'd say he's back in that right at that 10-day mark. I don't think he needs a rehab stint or anything like that. Rip roaring and ready to go. With that being said, do you bring up Anthony or do you bring up David Fletcher? Dude's crushing it, batting 366 in the minors, man. Plus, you lost Gio Urshela, who is David Fletcher at the moment, major league level wise, is poor man Gio Urshela with how good Urshela was playing, batting average wise. David Fletcher time.
if everything stays the same, no. If Urshela goes on the 60-day IL, then we can talk about it then. But right now he's on the 10-day IL. Rendon's on the 10-day IL. I don't think you necessarily need to designate someone for assignment for 10 days. Like, what are we going to do? Like, you're probably Rendon's probably at the minimum 10 days, which gets him back in the White Sox series.
It's leave
So
on.
you're
Soto,
gonna, huh?
I think you have to bring up Soto.
Soto's a possibility. I think Jake Lamb's a possibility too, just to say, hey, here's your last chance. If he hits well, then maybe they find a spot for him and they send Walsh down. And if he doesn't hit well, then hey, we gave you your shot. You hit 152 or whatever it is, and you can go and find another team. Because he's really like having him on the team right now doesn't do us any good in AAA unless he's going to come up in a time like this, right?
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. I'm like I said, I think every good team has a David Fletcher, Gio Urshela. The Angels are hurting up the middle. They kind of just need anything in the infield at the moment. I mean, you're running out a lineup. You're running out an infield right now that could possibly be I guess Brandon Jury at third base. You go Andrew Velasquez at shortstop, Luis Renifo at second base, and Jared Walsh at first base. At the moment, that is a tough infield to work with. I don't think Brandon Jury actually plays second base or third base at the moment. I think that you put him at second base, Renifo goes to third base. Regardless of that alignment, that's tough. And it's hard to say the Angels are gonna win any games right now. However, this gets on to what I actually really wanted to talk about, not the injuries, not us being, superstitious or bad luck or anything to the Angels. How is this team going to win any games with the amount of injuries that they are seeing? Like I mean, first off, actually, let's take that back. Let's not,
There's a couple.
predict. Let's not predict anything yet. Let's go back to how have they been winning games with this many injuries? I know they've been playing some bad teams. And then the next question
Yeah,
would
that
be, how
helps.
will they continue to win games? Because at the moment they have they're in the playoff spot. They are buyers for all intents and purposes. You're keeping Ohtani, you're keeping Renfroe. Obviously, Urshela is hurt, so you got to keep Urshela. But oh man, this is this is going to be a tough stretch here, especially heading into July.
How is this team winning? I think this team's winning a couple ways. The bullpen has been very good until the Saturday game in Kansas City. The bullpen has been lights out. The offense has been good enough to win games, and that's kind of how it's been. Like they're playing really, really bad teams, and it's like, hey, we score 6 runs and the game's pretty much over. Like that seems to be the recipe for the way things have been going right now. It's like get on a team early, pray your starting pitcher gets through 5, and then our bullpen will get us through the last 6, 7, 8, 9. So that seems to be what's been going on. They've been getting some timely hits. Jury's had some big hits. Even Rengifo had a big series against the Cubs. He did. Otani's been absolutely out of his mind right now.
We'd get hammered, or we would get hammered if we didn't say something about Shohei Ohtani. So you got to say.
I was just kind of going position by position in my head, but yeah, Otani's been playing out of his mind when it comes to hitting. Jury's been playing really well. Rengifo had a hot series against the Cubs. I know he didn't really do too much in the kind of a little bit in the Mariners series, and then nothing too much in the Kansas City series. But Moniak, it has been really clutch as well. It just feels like they've been getting that clutch hit when they need it, and the bullpen has been pretty good until Saturday. So, how are they going to continue winning? That's going to be a good question.
That is going back to it though. Freaking Shohei Ohtani, man, he's been special. Side note: with the Angels winning, you cannot trade him. You need to go all in at the moment, especially if you have a playoff spot and you have a chance to win. I know we've been advocating trading Ohtani. That's when the Angels were not in a playoff spot, which you never know what happens. If you lose 10 games in a row, then all of a sudden it's like you have to trade Ohtani again. So it is a week by week, almost not necessarily game by game basis. It is a week by week basis, series by series, realistically, on what you're doing with Ohtani at the deadline and Renfroe at the moment. But yeah, I mean, they're playing good baseball. Everything that you just said right there equates to a good team. They've been pretty clutch. They timely hitting, been hitting decent with runners in scoring position. That seems to be the key for them. I guess it's probably the key for anybody. It's kind of a stupid thing, but if you're hitting well with runners in scoring position, it probably means you're scoring runs, which probably means you're winning games. And then also, if you can close down games, the bullpen's been good. You've been able to have decent starting pitching. Huge start by Patrick Sandoval in that last series. I said decent starting pitching. I didn't say great, Nate. I said decent starting pitching. Patrick Sandoval, you had a good start from him. You got him deep into a game, which is huge. Angels need that. Angels need, at least once a week for one of those starters to go deep into a game. It was good for Patrick Sandoval to do that, especially now you have 2 off days this week. We'll talk about the Dodgers series here in a second or two. But yeah, I mean, at the moment, they're doing what good teams are supposed to do, which is win, against bad teams, hit with runners in scoring position, and the bullpen's been good. Everything else can kind of sort itself out in a sense. When you have Shohei Ohtani doing things that not just Babe Ruth hasn't done, like Shohei Ohtani's just been absolutely unbelievable. Tends to be streaky at the dish, I'll say that. But when he is absolutely lights out in that front side staying in, even on off speed away. Look, you got the Jared treatment today with the dog, huh? You're welcome. That's what I have to deal with all the time. So you're welcome with that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
man,
do.
Shohei Ohtani's been absolutely unbelievable. When he's on, he's on. When that front side stays in, it's same thing with his pitching too. It seems like when the front side stays in, he's not flying open. He's not hanging the sweeper. He's unbelievable. When that front side flies out a little bit, you get that front shoulder opening up really early, and he gets very. You can throw him off speed away. You can throw that changeup away if you're a righty. You can throw that slider away if you're a lefty, or the curveball away and get him most of the time. That's when he struggles. So at the moment, that front side, that front hip, that front shoulder staying in, and man, he's I've never seen somebody hit that many opposite field home runs that far either. That is stupid power. That's some of the best power I think I've ever seen ever in ever baseball. Like even video games don't even do that. So, yeah, he's been unbelievable. Now onto the question of how they're going to continue to do this. Nate, it comes down to what we have harped on for the entire season, and that is leadership. And I don't know if the Angels have that. However, I mean, Phil Nevins kind of stepped up and gotten thrown out of some games, and I don't think it's necessarily leadership, but that definitely puts some fire under some butts and fires some people up. I'll say that. So, but yeah, it's going to come down to leadership and executing and playing good quality baseball. So if the Angels can play good quality baseball, even with a bottom of the lineup that includes Andrew Velasquez, a struggling Luis Renifo, Chad Wallach, who has been spectacular this season, but isn't somebody who you like rely on by any means. It'll be okay, I guess. We'll see if they execute and they play good quality baseball. This team can go a long way. They also need to get healthy, man. That's tough.
You go to the leadership, and I go to the pitching. They got to pitch. I think that's the biggest one. You got to be able to pitch, and I know we're looking at some of these guys, and Bachman's been really good after his first outing. Soriano's been really good up until his last outing. You're looking at a bunch of young kids, right? Like a bunch of these young kids, and Estevez has pitched well. He's had a couple hiccups here lately. He kind of needs like not to pitch 4 days in a row. Probably that would be nice for him to not pitch 4 days in a row. But the one thing that worries me with the bullpen, you got a bunch of young guys that have not thrown a lot of innings before. Soriano, I think the number was 15 or 17 in the last 3 years, like because he had his second TJ. Through like three innings in like 10 innings or 5 innings in 10 innings. So Soriano has not thrown a lot of innings. He's already thrown more innings in the big leagues, I believe, than he threw in the last 3 years combined. So that's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on is how long can you rely on a guy that hasn't really pitched? Bachman didn't really pitch too much over the last 2 years with the back injury and, coming out of college, things like that.
Lights out though.
He has been lights out. I mean, Soriano was lights out too until Saturday. So he's just kind of let it get away from him. Davinsky, we know what he's been in the past. He has had his really good years and he has had his really bad years. If he can continue to do his deal, that's going to be important. Yeah, I'm just really worried about the pitching because the starting pitchers have turned into 2-pitch guys. The bullpen guys are 2-pitch guys. I think that's been a big issue with some of these guys is they've turned into 2-pitch pitchers. Like Shohei Ohtani has literally turned into a 2-pitch pitcher.
Fastball sweeper.
Is a fastball sweeper.
Sandoval's been fastball slider.
Detmers is fastball slider only.
Yep.
It's definitely concerning. So we'll
have
have
Tyler
to see
Anderson,
how
though.
that.
You didn't
There's no reason to.
Griffin Canning. Griffin Canning has been pretty solid of late. Last 4 starts, he's been pretty good. 4 or 5 starts.
Yeah, he's still a ball well.
Not a 2-pitch pitcher though. No,
but it's 1 pitch. I looked at Soriano 15 and 2/3 in the last 3 years. He has threw 23 and 1/3 in the minors. He's already thrown 7, so he has doubled the amount of innings this year. How long can you rely on him to be? You're gonna have to go get something. If this team is gonna continue to win, you're gonna have to go get something. You've already brought up the starting pitching. Sandoval and Detmers has kind of looked good in his last couple outings, I would say. Sandoval called his own pitches for the first time, and he looked good. I know it was a Kansas City lineup that is not very offensive. I guess it is offensive to Kansas City fans the way they've been swinging it. But I'm sorry, the starting pitching needs to step up. Like you're about to go play some really tough opponents. You're about to go play the Dodgers. The Dodgers aren't playing well. You got to go pitch. You're gonna go to Colorado, which is never easy for any pitching. And the one thing that worries me about the Colorado series We walk the world right now. We are walking the entire world. And you cannot walk guys in Colorado. You walk guys in Colorado, the solo bombs turn into 3-run bombs, and all of a sudden you are chasing 6 instead of chasing 2. So that is going to be an issue, especially with the lineup that we're going to be running out there with Velasquez and Rengifo and all these guys at the bottom half. That's my key to success over the next 2 weeks or so is you got to pitch.
You do, and you look at the upcoming schedule. You go the Dodgers aren't playing the best of baseball, but it's still the Dodgers. Still gotta worry about them. You go to Colorado and you hope that the offense can be the offense. You hope that the Angels start getting a little healthier around that point. Then you come back home, you play the White Sox, who again, you don't know what White Sox you're going to get. They're a streaky team. They still have a good lineup. Now they haven't played well in the field or anything like that, but on paper, still a scary team. Then you go to Arizona, who has been magnificent this season. Now they've probably hit a little bit of a bump, but still been magnificent this season. Then you play against San Diego, who's scary. That's a scary team. Then you finish the first half off against the Dodgers. You do have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 off days until the Houston Astros series, which is what starts off the second
3 off
second
days.
half. 3 plus the All-Star break. 4 technically if
Yeah.
you count that Sunday, which not a lot of people get off. But regardless, you have a lot of off days. You can get healthy again. You get a guy like Matt Moore back. You get Rendon back. Hopefully, I don't know. I didn't see what the timetable was on Neto. Hopefully, you might be able to get Neto back, though. Oblique's scared living bejeebers out of me. You hopefully get Ben Joyce back, but you don't know where he's going to be at. The nerves really scare me there. And then you look at mid-July into the end of the season. You go Houston, the Yankees, a Pittsburgh Pirates team who hasn't been bad, still a scary team. Detroit, who's Detroit. You hope that you handle that series. The Blue Jays, who are one of the best teams in baseball. The Braves, who are one of the best teams in baseball. Seattle, who can get hot. San Francisco, who's been a good team. Houston, who's been who can be a very good team. The Rangers, who have been a good team. Tampa Bay, who's been a good team. And then you finally get a little bit of a break with Cincinnati, who can still be a freaking really good team. Talking about being buyers with that, with who they're bringing up and everything like that. The
Mets, 2 games,
the Phillies,
500 half game out.
Yeah, the Mets, the Phillies, and July is going to be tough. And if again, everything's going to have to line up. And Nate, this again comes back to, should the Angels be buyers or sellers with that July and this team that they're putting out? It scares the living bejeebers out of me in July that they're going to keep some of these guys and they're going to just fall off the table after they buy. I already have a feeling. I know what's going to happen. You put Rendon at first base. You bring Jo Adell, and you said, hey, we made an acquisition. We got Jo Adell in the outfield. Something along the lines of that. As weird as it sounds.
Renfroe at first base.
Renfroe, not Rendon. Renfroe at first. Yeah, you put Jo Adell in the outfield. You say, hey, look at we added an offensive piece. Maybe you go get a bullpen piece or two, and I think I'm okay with that. You need a start. You need a starter, but how much are you going to be able to? What do you want to? That's tough, like you can bring up.
Here's the one thing that's going to be interesting about the trade deadline, right? In order to get pieces, you're going to have to give up pieces, and the Angels are in a place right now, and in order to be a real threat in the playoffs, which you're going to need to go get an ace, which I've been saying for 2 years now. You need an ace. You need a Corbin Burns. You need a guy who's going to take the ball and just take 7, 8, 9 innings. Yes. What?
Well, you need an ace, or you need Shohei Ohtani to return to that ace status and be able to.
Okay, so sure, but here's my one concern. Even if Shohei returns to ace, when has he ever thrown on 3 days rest?
Everything changed again.
When?
Nate, how often have we said that?
Can we ask the guy to pitch on 3 days rest and DH every single game in the postseason and hope that he pitches good twice in a 5-game series?
You need to make it to the postseason first off. Second off, we know very, very well that the postseason comes down to not the front office and how the front office plays baseball, but how management plays baseball and how the bullpen is managed. You look at Dave Roberts, nothing against him. The Dodgers have messed up. That has been very much so a front office control team, except for in 2020, which has an asterisk on it. Regardless, though, Like you look at some of the best teams. Some of the best teams in the regular season are not always the teams that go out and win a World Series for this reason. You know, you
But
need to be a
the
good
teams who
manager.
win the World Series, they are legit with
Let's
starting pitching depth.
yes.
They have
Well,
3 legit pitchers. Look at the Phillies, look at the Astros. You can just keep going back, like go back to the Astros, go back to the Phillies, go back
yes.
to the
Even the Dodgers have
Braves,
any
the
good
Braves, the
playoff
Dodgers,
team
like
has good pitching.
all these teams that have won. It's like, oh, their number one is a number one. Oh, their number two, well, he could be a number one as well. Oh, their number three, well, he's probably a number two on most teams. So that is a key. You got to go get a starting pitcher. You got to get a dude. But here's the question: what are you willing to give up to go get a dude? Is Lucas Giolito an ace? In my opinion, no. He's a good pitcher, but he's not an ace, right? So let's say you're moving on to a Dylan Cease, who I don't know why Chicago would be willing to move him, but let's say Chicago's willing to move him. Let's say there's Corbin Burns, who the Brewers are willing to move. You just start looking at the 3 to 5 pieces that could be considered a real ace. What are you willing to give up? Because the talks are going to start with Edgar Quero. They're going to start with, hey, can we ask about Zach Neto? You're probably going to hang up the phone when they ask about Zach Neto, but they're going to ask about Zach Neto. They're going to ask about Sam Bachman or Chase Silseth. They're going to ask about Joe Adell. They're going to ask about Mickey Moniak. They're going to ask about all these guys. And it's like, how many of these guys are you willing to part with? Because if you look at the Angels farm system, realistically, if it's not 1, 2, or 3, it's not really going to be the main piece in a trade for this, right? So what are you willing to give up, and how much of the future are you willing to give up just to possibly make the playoffs?
Exactly. Exactly that. Granted, again, you're still stuck in a tough spot because you have Shohei Ohtani, the best player in baseball right now. You do have Mike Trout, who struggled a little bit, still one of the best players in baseball. Rendon, who's been on and off healthy, can be, when he's healthy, one of the best players in baseball. So it's tough to say, you know. We'll see. July scares me. You look at that July schedule, that scares living bejeebers out of me. However, right now,
just take it week by week.
You do. You take it series by series. However, I got to say this before I let everybody go. The Angels are playing how I thought they'd play in June. They have a small, slim chance of winning 20 games. They got to win some games in a row here. But they are playing very.
You can
good
lose
baseball.
one more.
So they have to go. So they needed to sweep the Royals. You got to go sweep the Royals. Hang on, let me pull it up for you and see what I'm thinking here. You now have to sweep. You have to split the Dodgers series. You have to sweep the Rockies, and you have to take 3 of 4 against the White Sox. And then it comes down to that first game against Arizona. If you win that, that's 20 games won. So slight chance of it happening. You never know. I mean, hell, if they go sweep the Dodgers, it's like, wow, you know, it all of a sudden becomes a legitimate possibility.
Don't they have to? So if they split with the Dodgers, you got to sweep Colorado, sweep Chicago, and win the Arizona game.
I don't think you have to win out. You have one game. You have 1 or 2 games.
One.
How many games have they lost this in June? 6, 5, 6 losses now.
They're 11. They're 11 and
6,
5.
11 and 5. So
6. 11 and 6.
So they have to. They can only lose one more game. Yeah. So you have to. Yeah. You need to win some games. Yeah. You need to win some games, but it's a possibility. I'm just saying. I mean, granted,
I just had to throw that back.
Yeah,
though.
That's fine. 18, 19 wins in a month. Not bad. Not bad at all. It puts you in a good spot. However, July scares living bejeebers out of me. That being said, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast and watching us on YouTube. If you can, go ahead and subscribe. We will be back now at least twice a week to preview and go over, review, and preview every series. It's weird to say that. Rolling here forward, whether it's just Nate and myself, Derek, Brock, anybody else who wants to join us. Guys, again, thank you so much for listening. You can follow us on all our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Tims, Nate at Nate Green 34. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.